Om, the Chandogya Upanishad in simple English, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma. Part 3 of 14. Chapter 2 is dedicated to the description of the various chants. Part 3 consists of the first 14 sections of Chapter 2. In this part, analogies of the fivefold chants in the worlds, in the rains, in the waters, in the seasons, in the animals, and in the vital breaths is given, and analogies of the sevenfold chant in speech and the sun are given. Further, the Gayatra chant of the vital breaths, the Rathantra chant of fire, the Vamadeva chant of sex intercourse, and the Brhat Chant of the sun are described. The Upanishad, Chapter 2, Sections 1 to 14. Meditation on the entire psalm is good. Whatever is good is called psalm, and whatever is not good is called a psalm. So when people say, he approached with psalm, they mean he approached in a good way. And when they say, he approached with no psalm, they mean he approached in a bad way, not in a good way. When everything is good, people say it is psalm, meaning it is good. And when something is not good, they say it is a psalm, meaning it is not good. Whosoever with this knowledge meditates on the psalm as good, all good qualities would then come quickly and accrue to him. Now we come to some analogies of the fivefold chants. One should meditate on the psalm of 5 parts in the worlds. Here he should meditate on the earth as the syllable him, on fire as the prastav, on the atmosphere as the udgit, on the sun as the pratihar, and on the sky as the nidhan, as the final resting place, as those who depart from this world are deposited in the sky. These were given from the lower to the higher, in the ascending order, from the earth to the sky. Now we give them in the reverse, in the descending order, from the higher to the lower, from the sky to the earth. Here one should meditate on the sky as the syllable him, on the sun as the prastav, on the atmosphere as the udgit, on the fire as the pratihar, and on the earth as the nidhan. As the people who come back to earth are deposited here on earth. Whosoever with this knowledge of the psalm of 5 parts in the worlds meditates on it as such, he wins the worlds both in the ascending and in the descending order. One should meditate on the psalm of 5 parts in the rain. He should meditate on the wind that blows before the rain, that precedes the rain as the syllable him, on the formation of the cloud as the prastav, on the rain proper as the udgit, on lightning and thunder as the pratihar, and on the stopping of the rain as the nidhan. Whosoever with this knowledge meditates on the fivefold psalm in the rain as such, it rains for him, and he causes it to rain. One should meditate on the psalm of 5 parts in all the waters. He should meditate on the cloud formation as the syllable him, on the rain as the prastav, on the waters that flow to the east as the udgit, on the waters that flow to the west as the pratihar, and on the ocean as the nidhan, as the place where all the waters finally collect. Whosoever with this knowledge meditates on the fivefold psalm as such in all the waters, he will never die in water. In fact, he becomes rich in water. One should meditate on the psalm of 5 parts among the seasons. He should meditate on the spring as the syllable him, on the summer as the prastav, on the rainy season, the monsoon, as the Udgit, on the autumn as the Pratihar, and on winter as the Nidhan. Whosoever with this knowledge meditates on the fivefold psalm in the seasons as such, the seasons then belong to him, and he becomes rich in seasons. He enjoys all the seasons. One should meditate on the psalm of 5 parts of the animals. He should meditate on the goats as the syllable hymn, on sheep as the prastav, on cows as the udgit, on horses as the pratihar, and on human beings as the nidhan. For the human being is the culmination of animal development. Whosoever meditates on the fivefold psalm among the animals as such, he becomes rich in animals, and animals belong to him. One should meditate on the most excellent psalm of 5 parts among the vital breaths, among the senses. He should meditate on the breath as the syllable hymn, on speech as the prastav, on the eye as the udgit, on the ear as the pratihar, and on the mind as the nidhan. Whosoever with this knowledge meditates on the most excellent fivefold psalm among the vital breaths, among the senses as such, the most excellent then belongs to him, and he wins most excellent worlds. Now we come to the sevenfold chant of the psalm. One should meditate on the psalm of 7 parts in speech. Whatever of speech is hum, that is the syllable him. Whatever is pra, that is prastav, and the syllable a is the beginning. Whatever is ut, that is an udgit. Whatever is prati, that is pratihar. Whatever is up, that is an upadrav, an approach to the end. And whatever is ni, that is nidhan, that is conclusion. Whoever with this knowledge meditates on the sevenfold psalm in speech as such, for him speech yields milk, which is the nectar of speech. And not only does he become rich in food, he also becomes an eater of food. One should meditate on the psalm of 7 parts in the sun. The sun is psalm because he is always the same. He is the same with everyone, since everyone thinks he is facing them alone, and since he shines equally on everyone. One should know that all beings in existence depend on the sun. Before rising, the sun is the syllable him. All the animals depend on this. Therefore, they utter the syllable him. They partake of this syllable him of the psalm. Just after sunrise is a prastav. All men depend on this prastav. Therefore, they always seek praise. They always want to be lauded. They are generally lovers of name and fame. They partake of this prastav of the psalm. Just after this is Sangav, the time when cows are gathered. That is Adi. All the birds depend on this Adi. Therefore, they hold themselves without support in the atmosphere and fly about. The birds are partakers in the Adi of the psalm. Midday is an Udgit. The gods depend on this Udgit. Therefore, they are the best of Prajapati's children. They are the partakers in the Udgit of that psalm. Past midday and before afternoon, that is a Pratihar. All fetuses depend on this Pratihar. Therefore, they are held up and do not fall down. They partake in the Pratihar of that psalm. Past afternoon and before sunset is an Upadrav. All the wild animals depend on this Upadrav. Therefore, when they see a man, they run to their hiding place, a cave or to a hole. They partake in the upadrav of that psalm. Just after sunset is the nidhan. The fathers, the ancestors, depend on this nidhan. Therefore, people lay aside the fathers. They partake of the nidhan of that psalm. This is the way to meditate on the sevenfold psalm in the sun. Now we come to the mystical meaning of the number of syllables in the chant of 7 parts. One should always meditate on the psalm of 7 parts, which is uniform in itself and which leads beyond death. The syllable him has 3 letters. Prastav also has 3 letters, making them the same with 3 letters each. Adi has 2 letters. Pratihar has 4 letters. If we take 1 letter from Pratihar and put it in Adi, then both will have the same number of letters, 3 letters each, and they become the same. Udgit has 3 letters. Upadrav has 4 letters. With 3 letters each, they are the same. We have 1 letter which is left over. Nidhan has 3 letters. That is the same as all the others too, all having 3 letters. All these letters add up to and make 22 letters. With the 21st letter, one obtains the sun, since the sun is the 21st letter from here. With the 22nd letter, one conquers and obtains what is beyond the sun. That is the state of bliss. That is the state where there is no sorrow. He conquers the sun. In fact, he obtains a victory higher than the victory of the sun. He who, knowing this as such, meditates on the psalm of 7 parts, which is uniform in itself and which leads beyond death. Yes, he who meditates on the psalm of 7 parts. Now we come to different chants. The Gayatra chant is the chant woven on the vital breaths, woven on the senses. Here the mind is the syllable him, speech is the prastav, the eye is the udgit, the ear is the pratihar, and the breath is the nidhan. Whosoever knows this Gayatra chant as such, as woven in the vital breaths, himself becomes the possessor of vital breaths. He reaches the full length of his life. He lives well. He becomes great in children and in cattle, and great is his fame. One should always be great-minded. One should always be large-hearted and never be petty-minded. That is the rule. The Rathantra chant is the chant that is woven on fire. Here, rubbing fire sticks together. That is the syllable him. When smoke is produced, that is prastav. When the fire burns and blazes, that is the udgit. When embers are produced, that is the pratihar. And when the fire dies out, that is the nidhan. Whosoever knows this Rathantra chant as such, as woven on fire, he becomes radiant with the luster of ancient wisdoms. He shines with the luster of ancient wisdoms. He becomes an eater of food. He reaches the full length of his life. He lives well. He becomes great in offspring and in cattle, and great in fame. One should never sip water before fire. One should never spit before fire or on fire. That is the rule. The Vamadeva Chant is the chant that is woven on sex intercourse. Here, when one invites the woman, that is the syllable him. When he makes a request to her, that is a prastav. When he lies down with her, that is the udgit. When he has sex with her, that is the pratihar. When he comes to the finish, that is the nidhan. Whosoever knows the Vamadeva chant as such, as woven on sex intercourse, he gets to have intercourse. He procreates himself from every act. he reaches the full length of life. He lives well. He becomes great in offspring and in cattle, and great is his fame. One should never despise or speak ill of any woman. That is the rule. The Brhat Chant is the chant that is woven on the sun. Here, when the sun rises, it is the syllable him. When the sun has risen, it is the prastav. When it is midday, that is the udgit. When it is afternoon, that is the pratihar. And when the sun sets, that is the nidhan. Whosoever knows this Brihat chant as such, as woven on the sun, he becomes radiant, he shines, he becomes an eater of food, he reaches a full length of life, he lives well, he becomes great in offspring and in cattle, and great in fame. One should never speak ill of the burning sun. That is the rule. This concludes part 3 of 14 of the Chandogya Upanishad. Om Shanti 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 Om.